In this module, we're going to give you some background on how the M-Class intervention algorithm works with progress monitoring data. We're also going to show you why accurate data are so important to M-Class intervention and how differences in scoring could lead to completely different lessons. Then we will show you how to prepare to administer progress monitoring and what you need to have ready. We will take you through the steps to pull up assessment measures on your assessment device and where to locate student materials. Before we go into the details of scoring accuracy, let's take a minute to reflect on why you think we should progress monitor students. Remember how M-Class intervention works? Each cycle requires that students get progress monitored. The progress monitoring results guide the algorithm to keep generating catered lessons that are very specific to students' needs. The cycle repeats every 10 days, that is, every other week. In order to determine the right instruction for each student, M-Class intervention uses measures that are aligned to foundational skills. For each of the foundational skills, there is at least one measure. If you use DIBELS to assess your students, most of these measures will already be familiar to you. The measures in orange are measures exclusive to M-Class intervention. Here is a table that shows how each measure is aligned to a foundational literacy skill. Your device will tell you which measures to assess each student in. You do not need to assess in all of them. Phonemic awareness is measured by phonemic segmentation fluency. Phonics is measured by nonsense word fluency, oral reading fluency, and decoding measures. There are 4 submeasures that give more diagnostic details: regular words, irregular words, letter combination, and advanced phonics. Accurate and fluent reading of connected text is measured by oral reading fluency. Reading comprehension is measured by oral reading fluency, maze, and comprehension skills. Vocabulary is measured by the aptly named vocabulary measure. LNF is not directly related to one of the basic early literacy skills, but it is a reliable indicator of risk. In the same way that a thermometer is an indicator of health, LNF is an indicator of future reading success. The M-Class intervention algorithm matches the progress monitoring measure to the instruction to determine how much progress each student has made in the 9 days of instruction and to come up with the next set of catered lessons. Every other week, on the same day, you'll progress monitor to track students' mastery of the skills they have learned in M-Class intervention and provide data for the next set of lessons. Progress monitoring data fuels the M-Class intervention engine. When you progress monitor accurately and consistently, you ensure that burst lessons are most strategically aligned to skills that students need. The progress monitoring data tell us what gains students are making and where they need additional support. Now that you know how M-Class intervention uses PM data to target its lessons, let's take a closer look at how scoring accurately is crucial to generating the right lessons for each group. We know assessment and progress monitoring is a very important part of the M-Class intervention machine. To group students and to generate lessons, why do you think it's important to accurately record student responses? Let me show you a few different cases of student responses and suggested instructional next steps. In the M-Class intervention overview module, we took a look at 2 different students whose nonsense word fluency score at MOI was 29. Turn to page 1 of your handout. If you are not yet familiar with this assessment or need a quick refresher with NWF, let me give you a little bit of background. The student is given a page of make-believe words and is instructed to read the words. The educator then scores the assessment. A line underneath the letter marks a sound that was read correctly. Red squares show sounds that were read incorrectly or skipped. Student 1 read the first word as rim, so the assessor marked the O incorrect. A line underneath a word shows that the student blended all letters and read the whole word and not just the individual sounds. Student 2 read the first word as ROM. M-class intervention reads deeper into the measures than simply taking the numerical score of each probe. Take a look at student 1. What error patterns do you notice for this student? What instructional next steps would you recommend based on these response patterns? When you're done analyzing student 1's response patterns, look over student 2's scoring sheet. Student 1 needs support on letter sound correspondence and blending. Student 2 can already blend accurately and needs to improve his fluency. Because the M-class intervention algorithm looks at response patterns, it's important that the scores accurately show where students are on the reading skills progression. Okay, we've gone over how M-class intervention continuously uses progress monitoring data and picks up specific student response patterns from that data to generate new lessons. Let's walk you through the steps to get ready to administer progress monitoring assessments to students.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a product manager on the M-Class team at Amplify, and I'm going to tell you about how progress monitoring works with M-Class intervention. Progress monitoring data fuels burst lessons so you can ensure your students receive the best targeted instruction to meet their needs. I'm here to help you get started so you can pull your next burst without delays. Each burst of instruction targets early literacy skills that were identified as areas of instructional weakness for a particular group. Progress monitoring is a formative assessment that checks for understanding so M-Class intervention can adjust the next set of lessons accordingly. Starting on day 7, you'll progress monitor students with the measures specified for each student. Usually all students in a group will need the same measures, but from time to time, the measures will vary for students in the same group. This happens if M-Class intervention doesn't have information about students' earlier skills, or if you accidentally add a student with incomplete results to a group. You can find the measures that need to be given to each student on the Prepare for Next Burst tab. In this example, Daniel needs to be given NWF, RW, and IW. Michelle needs to be given NWF, RW, IW, and ORF. As a reminder, students need 3 to 4 measures only when their data becomes out of date and the algorithm needs fresh data to give you targeted lessons. Most of the time, the Prepare for Next Burst tab will indicate that all students in the group need to be monitored with 2 measures like you see here. For example, it would just say RW and IW next to these 2 students. You can also find the measures that need to be administered to each intervention student inside the assessment app. Now that we know which measures to administer, let's take a look at how you go about progress monitoring. The first step is to tap on the M-Class app icon. If you don't have one set up, go to mclass.amplify.com/assessment. You're going to be prompted to log in, so go ahead and enter your username and password. And then once you get in, you'll see that classes appear in the class dropdown. If you don't see your class here, go to the hamburger and click on the class selection page, and that's where you'll be able to sync additional classes to your device. Then once you're here, you're going to click on Progress Monitoring, and then find the student who you are ready to progress monitor. So let's say we are going to progress monitor this student, CC. What you see is that at the top of the screen are the measures that need to be administered to CC. So this student has 4 measures that she needs: PSF, NWF, WRF, and ORF. So you'll just go ahead and click on Assess to begin the first assessment. A note that the app is going to automatically default to an unused form, and we're doing that so that you don't accidentally test a student with the same material more than once. Once you're done assessing, don't forget to sync. The app is designed to store assessment data on your mobile device. Syncing transmits that data to the Amplify servers. Okay, let's take a minute to review the steps for progress monitoring students receiving M-Class intervention. As a reminder, there are 2 ways to find the measures that need to be administered to students. You can go to the Prepare for Next Burst tab, or you can go directly to the M-Class app. When you're ready to progress monitor, go ahead and log into the M-Class app, select your class or group, tap on a student's name, and then administer all required assessments to the student. And don't forget to sync your results and/or log out when you're done.
As you get ready to start administering progress monitoring, check in with your intervention coordinator to get the details on the progress monitoring plan. The progress monitoring plan is put in place to ensure consistent progress monitoring of students. Your intervention coordinator has set up a repeatable process to make progress monitoring administration easier. Make sure that you are clear on when you should administer progress monitoring and where. Choose a location that minimizes transition time. Many progress monitoring specialists choose to push into the classroom so they can quickly and efficiently move through students. Progress monitoring should be administered on the same day of the week, every other week. We recommend to progress monitor every other Tuesday or Wednesday so that new lessons can be ready by the following Monday. Which students you should assess in each class. Make sure that each class appears on your device. Sync your device and check. If any are missing, talk to your intervention coordinator. Get the printed student materials ready. Hopefully you were able to connect with your intervention coordinator and get the important details of the progress monitoring plan prior to this session. Take a moment to record those logistics on page 2 of your handout. Note the differences between these 2 URL addresses. mclass.amplify.com/assessment is where you go to administer and score assessments. This should be accessed via your touchscreen device. mclass.amplify.com is where you go to get your lessons and view progress monitoring results. Now that you have gotten an intro on how to administer and score the progress monitoring assessments, you can become an expert at administering the progress monitoring measures. In case you need to review scoring, there are a few short videos on how to score each of the intervention measures on the burst base under progress monitoring. Be sure to use the video and audio and actually practice scoring the intervention measures along with the video with the students in your demo class. PSF and NWF are 2 of the most difficult assessments to administer, so practice scoring each of these assessments as much as you need to feel confident before assessing intervention students. We went over quite a bit of information on progress monitoring. Here are a few key takeaways for you to consider as you prepare to administer progress monitoring. Assessment accuracy is extremely important for M-Class intervention to get the right lessons to your students, so pick your assessment team carefully. With all of the day-to-day school demands, it's not easy to prioritize progress monitoring. It is critical to have a clear plan in place to ensure consistent progress monitoring of students. Be sure to check in with your intervention coordinator and get the details. Most importantly, sync your device. M-Class intervention will not be able to create new lessons unless you sync your data.